So for us, life is more important than, all the nitty gritty of like how we're going to make the money, how we're going to, all those details can be resolved once you have, okay, what is my focus? What am I trying to achieve here? What am I trying to do here?
Welcome to the Get Invested podcast, where we share conversations I've enjoyed with experts from all walks of life to uncover their secret know-how on where they invest their time, their skills and their money, and the benefits this has created. Get Invested helps you to live more, work less, and leave a legacy by investing now. Listen to the show to discover the top tips on how to get started, to make the most of your investment journey, and ultimately to be living the dream. More episodes can be found on iTunes or at khgroup.com.au/Get Invested. Thanks for listening, and let's get invested. Welcome back to Get Invested, Freedom Fighters. It's Bushy Martin here again, and really looking forward to spending some time with you with another fantastic conversation. I want to start with another question. Do you believe that some people are born gifted and talented and others aren't? Well, if so, today's guest, Sean D'Souza, is going to help you to smash through this myth. And he's going to give you the steps to help you to achieve mastery in anything that you desire. You see, Sean himself is very hard to categorise. But if I was to try and sum it up in a simple sentence, he's what I'd call a Renaissance persuasion lifestyler. What the hell does that mean, I hear you say? Well, let's break it down. He's a modern-day Renaissance man, and a Renaissance man is a person of many talents. I should say Renaissance person is a person of many talents. And in Sean's case, he's someone who's invested in limitless capacity and believes in the same. Secondly, he's a persuasion and a marketing guru. He's an author, he's a speaker, and he's a teacher of all things marketing. He's written a fantastic book called The Brain Audit. He runs a business called Psychotactics. But he's also, at the bottom of all this, a lifestyler. Now, what's a lifestyler? Well, he's one of the few people that I've had the pleasure to meet that is actually living his dream. He's what we call living by design, not by default. He's always had a really clear vision of his ideal life, and he puts the big rocks in first and then makes sure that his business and everything else revolves around making that happen. So, every year for the last 10 odd years, he takes a 3-month vacation every year, breaks it up into 1-month stints, but he makes sure that for a quarter of every year, he's taking time out. No work, no emails, no phones, just himself, his wife, visiting some fantastic places around the world. But he's also set it up so that he can pursue his other great passion, which is a cartoonist, and he does that every day. He's also a great cook, and he loves spending time and making time for his family. But all this, he starts by some happy habits of getting up at 4 a.m. every day. And interestingly enough, he's set up his whole life in a way that allows him to do all this, to give his time back, to dedicate as much time as he likes to the things that he likes. And as he describes, if he stopped work today, his income would continue to fund his lifestyle for at least the next 40 years. So in our fantastic discussion, we talk about how much is enough. We talk about the role of luck in people's lives. And we also talk about the power of partnership. Sean's a fantastic guy. He's very humble. Sonia and I had the real honour of spending some time with Sean and his good wife at the We Are podcast conference in Brisbane last year. I love his humility, and the more and more I talk to successful people, and however to describe that, they're just comfortable in their own skin and therefore have a humility that means they don't need to prove anything to anyone. So I know you're going to love this. You're going to get a lot out of this discussion, so make sure you listen to it a couple of times and feel free to take notes. So sit back now and enjoy Sean D'Souza. Okay, welcome back to Get Invested. Today we've got the real pleasure of talking to Sean D'Souza. I was very fortunate to meet Sean and his lovely wife at the We Are podcast conference in Brisbane last year, and was immediately drawn to his humility in the context of the fantastic things that Sean's been doing in a whole multitude of areas, and excuse the very bad description, but you look like a man who's got more fingers in pies than a Buddha in a bakery, Sean. Welcome aboard. Very humbled and honoured to spend some time with you.
Well, you don't have to be humbled. You're just fine, Bushy. Yeah, it's a pleasure to speak to you. Yeah.
Well, I really do appreciate your time, mate. Sonia and I really warm to yourself and your good wife in Brisbane. You have this sort of sense of calm humility about you, which is a pretty rare quality. So, mate, for those who don't know Sean D'Souza, can you tell us a bit about who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Well, we run a company called Psychotactics.com, and we started this about 18 years ago. We moved to New Zealand from India, 2000, and I used to be a cartoonist, professional cartoonist, and then one day I decided I wanted to be I wanted to get into marketing, and the reason why I did that was not because I liked marketing or was enamored by it, but because I wanted to take more breaks. I wanted to take more vacations, and I wanted to figure out a way so I could do more cartoons, or I could have more time, and I would not have lesser of an income. That was the motivation. But so I went to the library and I got like 10 books, and then the next time I got 20 books, and then the librarian goes, I'll just give you 30 books in your account. So
okay.
So I started. I had more time than income or anything else. So I decided, okay, I'm going to go with the books. Yeah. And along the way, I thought, wait a second, I'm decently good at this, and I started going to a networking group. That's where I found out that I was able to communicate stuff better than most people when it came to marketing. So we started up Psychotactics, which we started it up badly. We called it $1 million. Nobody wanted to deal with us when we were called $1 million. Luckily, we changed that to Psychotactics. It's been 18 years now. And what we do now is we teach marketing, but basically our goal is to create skills. So if we say, people say, oh, I want to learn copywriting. Well, precisely in 3 days. And that's what we promise now. We say we don't give you any money back guarantee, but we guarantee the skill. That's it. Okay,
very interesting. There's a whole wealth of info that I want to sort of delve into there a little bit. In doing some research on you, Sean, I understand you actually started life as an accountant. Is that right?
I studied. I never did a day of it. So,
keen to understand, given you've clearly got a very creative side and a questioning side that's evident with the cartooning and everything that you've done over the last 16 years. I'm just interested to understand why you would have chosen to study accounting. What was the driver and the motivation at that point?
Just lack of choice. There was, you just, I in India, you do an arts degree, science degree, or a Bachelor of Commerce. And in commerce, you have economics or you have accounting. You don't care for either one of them, so you pick one.
Okay. So it seemed like the logical thing to do when you finish school type routine. Is that pretty much how I'm reading it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you don't, no one really gives you good advice. You don't know what you're supposed to do or anything. So you just do whatever is in front of you. And to some extent, even business could be like that. You could say, I'm going to buy this course and I'm going to do something. You kind of read a sales page. You kind of think you know what you're getting into. it's 50-50. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. But preceding all that, I'm guessing here, but you obviously had a passion and a skill with the cartooning right from your earliest days. Is that something that you just spent a lot of time doing?
I was encouraged, yes. I am quite vociferous about this concept of inborn skill. I don't believe it, and I prove it, but we won't go into that right now. But the point is that I was encouraged, like, everyone I knew in kindergarten probably could draw. I was allowed to draw. I was encouraged to draw. Even in university, I'd go and, I'd sit in the corner speaking to nobody. I was really shy. But because I could draw cartoons, I didn't have to go after the girls. They just came to me. So it was encouragement all the way. I don't see the reason for not doing it.
No.
I couldn't see the reason.
No, there's a lot of good reasons for doing that. What sort of made you pick up a pen in the very early days? Was it just something that you did naturally, or I'm just sort of interested to understand the draw to that, mate?
I was very shy. I would read a lot. I would draw a lot. Those kind of skills are useful if you don't want to necessarily interact with people or don't feel the need to interact with people. So I just spend a lot of time with books, a lot of time drawing, and both of them are very useful with parents. There's no damage done, not breaking any glasses, windows, nothing. Yeah.
So it's sort of a safe haven almost to spend some time doing stuff you enjoy. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
If I knew better at 10, I would have written the book How to Be an Ideal Son or something like that.
Awesome. Yeah. The reason I ask is that I'm a mad drawer as a kid. I was a very sickly kid and spent a lot of time drawing, creating, designing, and which is why I ended up being an architect for 17 years before changing course. I'm just sort of always interested in why people pursue that, because it's very enjoyable, very creative. You can create your own world. And I love what you do. I just love the way you bring ideas to life through the visual medium, which is a very powerful one. So awesome. Okay, so you obviously did the accounting means to an end. And then got into cartooning, or where did life lead you after uni?
So while I was in university itself, I thought, how can I make some money from this? And you had newspapers back then, which were profitable. And so I went to a newspaper office, spoke to someone. They said, your stuff is really basic. Anyway, they have sections for youth and stuff. So there are always some youth columns and stuff. They gave me a chance to do that. They paid me something. I figured that the best way to get any assignment was to be a real pain in the butt. And that is to just show up there on a regular basis. And that's what I would do. My university was probably about 30 minutes away from home. The newspapers were all in that area, so I would just walk to the newspapers and then, say, do you have any cartoons? Do you need any illustrations done? And I would just do the rounds, and then 2 days later I would go back again. And sometimes they would say, can you wait for a little while? And then I would be sitting there for 2 hours. So I could never go to the movies with any of my friends because they would say, okay, we're booking a ticket. And of course, I was sitting in the newspaper waiting for the cartoon to be given to me. So I watched all movies alone in university, every single one of them. Yeah. And
okay.
But in the process, I started drawing cartoons for major newspapers in India, in Mumbai, magazines, sometimes for ad agencies, but mostly newspapers and magazines. It was great. I was able to buy my motorcycle, pay my university fees. It was a really good start.
Yeah, but probably and paralleling my own path in the architecture side of things, a very enjoyable, satisfying exercise, but a bit of what I often call a Van Gogh style existence, where you eke out an existence to pay the bills doing what you love, and you're not really famous until you're dead. and then people recognise you. Was the cartooning lifestyle a little bit that way? So great fun, but not much paying the bills?
I was not being paid too little. I couldn't say that you got paid too much, but there were no bills. I was in India. You live with your parents until you're married. There was no pressure to do that kind of stuff. It was just something I did. I have no idea why. My family comes from more or less of a business background. And my father was the first one to get into business. His father was in a job, but he started up a secretarial college. And then all my uncles kind of followed him. They were younger than him. And that's how, and then my grandfather ran a restaurant. You know, this is probably the difference between people who are entrepreneurs and not entrepreneurs, because you kind of grow up in this atmosphere where people are doing stuff. There are setbacks, there are no setbacks, there's joy, happiness, sadness, whatever. I wasn't looking to pay any bills or anything. It was just extra money. It was experience, stuff like that.
Yeah, okay. So help us to understand the motivation to make the change then, because it's quite a leap from, or it appears to be quite a leap from cartooning into the marketing work that you do.
There was an in between. I wanted to join advertising as a copywriter, and that's what I did. I went to an ad agency, and all the people were trying to get into small agencies, and I just went to one of the biggest ones, and I said, I would like to be a copywriter, and here are my cartoons. And they were like, okay, do you know there's the difference between copywriting and cartooning? And I go, yeah, I know, but I can learn. And so I made a deal with the creative director. I said, look, you've got nothing to lose. Let me stay here for a month, and then if you don't like me after a month, you can get rid of me, and if I don't like you, then I will leave. So it was a two-sided deal. It wasn't one-sided at all. She said yes, and a month passed, and they were not paying me, but I went to work every day. And maybe a month and a half passed, and then one day I was joking about how I don't get paid, and she just said, come here. And so she took me to the room and goes, okay, I want you to stop the jokes about not being paid, okay? Because from today, I'm paying you. And that was it. So...
and the desire to make that, so the copywriting was obviously a dormant passion, was it, or is that you saw other people doing it and you thought, wow, I'm here cartooning, but I'm seeing some fantastic stuff being written. I want to have a crack at that. What was the thinking process?
I loved the advertising thing in India. I don't know if they still do it, but they used to sign their ads so you could see which agency the ads came from. It wasn't blind. So they always printed their name at the bottom. And so I knew which agency I wanted to join. I knew who was the creative director of the agency. I had a specific role model, probably, 3 years before I graduated. So it wasn't like the accounting was just, okay, let me finish this degree and that's it. But I knew that I was going to end up as a copywriter. Cartooning was not, at that point in time, I didn't see it being a profession or not being a profession. It was just something I did, and something I enjoyed, and I could have made it a profession, which I did later. But I got into advertising. I got into Leo Burnett in India, left that job, got another one, started doing TV commercials for 9 months. Then one day just decided to help with all of this stuff. I'm going back to cartoons. I got to drawing cartoons, I had an office with staff and stuff like that. Would go bowling in the middle of the day. It was a good life. And then we moved to New Zealand. And as I said, fast forward to the library, get the books, read the marketing stuff, decide to do marketing.
Okay.
That's what we've been doing.
Well, a big step jumping from India to New Zealand. Help us understand your thinking around why you decided to jump on the plane.
I needed to learn English. No, I didn't.
I think the Indians talk better English than the English, Sean, so I don't believe that one for a minute.
Yeah, I won't antagonize either of them. But what I wanted since I was 12 was to be in a place that was half city and half country.
Okay.
And we visited Australia, my wife and I, in probably 1997 or something. And all the Australians, said, oh, Sydney's a great place to live and stuff like that. And sometimes the conversation would come up about New Zealand, and they would say, it rains a lot there. It's very quiet, and and they were trying to dissuade us, and we were thinking, wow, this sounds really good. So we just moved to New Zealand. We didn't know anyone here. We'd never been here. But it was half city and half country. It still is. Auckland still is at some level. But I guess...
Yeah, really interesting. I share similar views. We live on 55 acres south of Adelaide, and Adelaide is a half city, half country town, really. Have you been to Adelaide?
Doesn't come to mind, so probably no.
No? All right. Well, I reckon it's Australia's best kept secret because it's very much like New Zealand. So next time you're in Australia, yourself and your lovely...
I'll look forward.
Yeah, yourself and your lovely wife.
I'll look forward to getting on your jet. Yeah, yes.
Well, welcome to come and join us at the homestead, because I enjoy the same things. I like being close to the action, but I want to be away from the action. And it sounds like New Zealand had the same sort of attraction for yourself and your good wife. Am I right in saying that?
Yep. So for us, life is more important than, all the nitty gritty of like how we're going to make the money, how we're going to, all those details can be resolved once you have, okay, what is my focus? What am I trying to achieve here? What am I trying to do here? When that is in place, then it's much easier, because when it was to be a creative director at an ad agency, then everything was aimed towards that direction. We wanted to move to New Zealand. People, got into arguments with us, with me specifically. I had friends who were very upset. My mother was extremely upset. She said, "You just got married and moved out, and now you're moving to New Zealand." Oh, that's nice. So...
So, but what I'm hearing is that you've always had a very clear focus on what's important to you. Put the big rocks in, and then the sand fills the gaps. Is that pretty much how you've guided your life today? Yes,
it's not always that clear. I mean, you'd like it to be that clear, but it's not always that clear. A lot of what we do today, people say, "Oh, wow, that was amazing. You did that 10 years ago. You were very strategic." Yeah, well, sometimes you're strategic and sometimes you're just stubborn. And as long as you're willing to ride the stubbornness out, you can make it work.
Well, stubbornness is a code word for discipline and focus, I think, as well. So that's obviously qualities that you bring to the table. But you're one of the rare people that I've had the pleasure to meet, Sean, that is living your dream. And everyone talks about it, living the dream. It's almost a slang term over here for sarcasm in terms of not living the dream. But you are one of the few that I think truly is. Can you share with us what that lifestyle looks like and why? And then how you've then assembled the rest of your life around that to fund that lifestyle?
Yeah. So one of the things that I was very clear about when we moved to New Zealand was we'd been married for about 5 years when we moved to New Zealand, and we would go on breaks and stuff, but it was pretty sporadic. And I had this song called "Now I Can Dance." I forget who sings it, but she said, I'm come to this place and no one knows me here and I can dance. And that was like my theme song for, I know you're not supposed to have theme songs when you immigrate, but I had a theme song. Right?
Love it.
So anyway, I got here, and at some point, I have this great faith in the capacity of the brain to come up with to answer impossible questions, as long as you're willing to ask the question. And my question was, how can I take 3 months off every year? Not just and make first it was to make the income, but then to take 3 months off and to grow the income, being away. So that was a very strange question back in 2000. Today, we have the internet, we have that capacity, but it was a very strange question at that point in time, which is, how can you take 3 months off? And it's a question of framing. So I often say to people, can you take some time off? And they go, no, we can't even take 1 month off. So I say, okay, if considering all the work you do and all the stuff you do, can you make the same amount of money in 11 months? And they say, yeah, we could. Can you do the same amount of work in 11 months? Yeah, we could. So then you have 1 month off, right? So
yep.
Any person, almost any entrepreneur today, if you ask them, can you take a month off? And they will say no. And then you reframe it and you say, can you make the same amount? And we always have to start off with the concept of money, because for some reason they're always focused on the money, which
yes.
like as if $50,000 more is going to change your life. It's not.
No.
So, but anyway, you asked the question, and that's the question that we asked. How can we take 3 months off? And the answer was, well, you meet your budget in 9 months. That's all you have to do. So how do you do that? That's the question. And the thing is, we can do that through consulting, which is what we did, meeting people one-on-one. So we had to do something else, which was training. And I've written this concept called the three-prong system, which is, by the way, nothing to do with me. The Catholic Church and all religions and stuff have been using it for like thousands of years. So they have a three-prong system.
Okay.
They have consulting, which is one-on-one.
Yep.
Training is one-to-many.
Yep.
So one person and an audience in front of you. This could be a web conference. It could be a workshop, a training, whatever, group consulting, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is leverage, where you have books and whatever. So Elvis had this as well. He's been dead for like 30 years now, maybe more.
Yep.
And he had one-on-one, I'll sing for you
yep.
with my guitar.
Yep.
The training, which is kind of a concert, and then all the records and all the other stuff. If you look at the church, you look at Harley Davidson, you look at almost any business, you'll find that all of them have the same thing.
Yes.
The people that don't have it have the people that struggle the most are the ones that have too much consulting. So if you look at it as a pie and you start drawing, 100% of the pie I get from consulting. Well, the only way you can make time is to reduce that pie.
Yes.
So you go, okay, how can I do 80% consulting? Well, how am I going to get the money to fill that, to bake that pie?
Yes.
Well, 20% has to come from training. Then you go, okay, how can I get less and less consulting? So now we do 2 consulting sessions every month for half an hour each, and I charge like, I don't know, 650, something like that, US dollars.
Okay. Yep.
Per session. And that's all I just do that for the heck of it.
Yep.
Not because we need the money or in any way.
Sure.
And that's all the consulting I do. But then I can show people, so look, I have the consulting part. Because everyone says, oh, I love my work. Yeah, sure, you love your work, but can you get away from it?
Yes.
Right? And if you don't have an option, I don't care how much you love your work. What you need are options. So it's a great day today. And for us, for instance, for Renuka, a rainy day is a great day. For you, it might be a sunny day.
No, I love rainy days with a glass of wine and a coffee around the fire, mate.
You're the weird one. You have to be
I've been weird for years and love
it. Yeah. So anyway, so any kind of day, can we, eventually you have to have the option of, what people don't realize is they're so focused on money that they fail to realize that our biggest asset is time.
Yes, I absolutely 100% agree there, mate. It's something that sort of in parallel with what we're talking about here is when we're working with people, they come to us to talk about property investment, but we say to them, well, that's the last thing we're going to talk about. What I want to talk about is, what does your ideal life look like? And therefore, what does that lifestyle cost? Because once we've got to that, that's all you need. It's the old how much is enough question. And if you're clear on what the lifestyle looks like and what that costs, and then you've built up a system or a process that provides you that income, that's game over, job done, happy days.
Correct. And that is precisely why we stopped increasing our income 10 years ago. So 10 years ago, we go, okay, we need to earn 3 times our expenses. That's it.
Yep.
Not anymore.
Yep.
I mean, we make mistakes and we earn more than that by mistake, but that's purely a mistake.
It's a great mistake to make.
Well, it's something that we have little control over. For instance, maybe 100 more people buy some books, or something happens, or maybe someone listens to this podcast and then orders 100. I can't control that. I'm not going to say, hey, wait, we exceeded our budget. But by and large, we look at, okay, we have to try. We go on vacation. Now the 3-month vacation is actually, it started out as going for 3 months, but then that was just too much. It was too much to be away for 3 months.
Okay.
And it was very frustrating to come back because you didn't feel like working for the next 3 months.
Of course.
So it became six month long vacation, which is like, you can't run a business that way.
No.
So what we did was we take 12 weeks of work and then a month off, another 12 weeks and a month off. And the last 12 weeks usually coincides with December, which is when everyone leaves Auckland.
Yep.
And it becomes like my own city, which is like everyone's gone.
Sure.
So we stick around in December, but otherwise, after 12 weeks, we're going. I don't know. We just got back from Italy. We were there for a month. We'll be in Mexico later in this year, and what it helps us do is to travel in style. We fly business class. So a lot of people online, they say, oh, we earn millions and stuff. They're still going, they don't, they might have the money. They don't have the nerve to look at the future and go, my future is pretty safe.
Yes.
Based on what we have right now.
Yes. Yeah.
So they don't have that. Yeah. And I'm not knocking anybody, but I'm just saying that if you set out to live a good life, then what does that good life look like, which is what you're asking. And for us, the good life was, that we could have really good clients that respected our work and we respected them. So most of our clients are 90% friends from the very start.
Awesome.
So that's it. The second thing was that we wanted to take breaks. So we don't work on weekends and we don't work 3 months in the year.
Right.
And then somehow have the ability to fund this. And so once we reach that figure, which is three times is a very simple explanation, by the way. Three times is 1/3 goes to the government, and you obviously have some question somewhere about tax, which I love paying, by the way. I mean,
it's a great problem to have. If you're paying a lot of tax, you make a lot of money.
I've come from a country, India, where a lot of people evade tax, and I've seen other countries, first world countries, where people evade tax legally, but eventually infrastructure goes to hell, and a lot of services go to hell. I mean, we live in New Zealand. Renuka had an accident 12 years ago. I saw how the system responded.
Yes.
I saw how the tax dollars worked. There was a ditch at the top of the road 5 days ago. That ditch it doesn't exist anymore. It's been covered.
Yeah.
So to me, that 1/3, I'm very happy to pay in taxes. I find it obnoxious that people would say, that they don't want to pay taxes. So 1/3 goes there, 1/3 goes towards savings or / investments, which we don't make anymore because we're okay.
Yeah.
And 1/3 goes towards our expenses, and that's been our philosophy for the longest time now.
Yeah, I love it. I love the simplicity and the clarity of that. And again, it's that insight that a lot of people don't get to, because it's like you. I see a lot of people chasing money for money's sake, and when I say that, they chase income, but they don't chase. So they're rich. They what I define as rich, but they're not wealthy. And I've always said you're not wealthy until you've got time on your hands, because when your income's being sourced without relying on you to do it, then suddenly you've got time to spend however you want to spend it. and whatever feels right. So clearly that's something that is part of your philosophy, Sean?
Yes. And I want it now. I don't want it like, whenever we've had that going forward, it has always been. So when we started out in this business, Psychotactics, it was like the first month we earned $29 online, maybe second month $29. And it kind of breaks my heart because I get emails saying, I don't have any clients, I don't have a product, I don't have any system in place. How can I make $15,000 in a month's time? I'm like, oh, that's really easy. What you do is you go to the plant barn, you pick up some seeds, you grow, you put it in the ground, and then in a month's time, I want a 15-foot tree, and then as soon as you have a 15-foot tree, your answer is in place.
Love it.
And they get the point. But what frustrates me at some level is that they have been hoodwinked into believing that is possible. So that's kind of frustrating. But we've always worked within our income, and it was at some point that you do get to a point where things become relatively comfortable. And what I say is, I used to say, I live in a world of enough, but then we don't. We live in that sounds minimalistic, which we're not.
Mm-hmm.
So we live in a world that's not abundant, but where there is affluence. So
yes.
if you say, hey, Sean, do you want to have a coffee in Tokyo day after tomorrow? Then I should have the resources, the revenue, and the ability to do that. And the answer to that is yes. And when we were starting up, that would mean Tokyo, that would have been down the street. But I should still have the time and the money to have that.
Yes, absolutely. One of the questions we often ask clients when we're starting to work with them is, if you were to stop work today, how much longer could you fund your current lifestyle? And what I'm hearing from you is that you've set yourself up in a way you could probably last forever. Am I right?
Well, 40 years at this point.
40 years. So you've done that calculation, or is that a wild guess?
Yes.
Love it. Now, tell me how you've done that. So obviously the business, you've created income-producing assets through your books, through the courses. You've got that one-to-one, one-to-many, and then the wider exercise through your books and programs.
Correct.
Have you, outside of the business, have you invested in anything else? Shares, property, or other?
I don't know anything about shares, so going down the share kings thing, Warren Buffett is like, you don't invest in stuff that you don't know anything about. Yep. So okay, there's two things. The first thing is that I used to also work for and I don't want to be someone that's kind of saying, oh, there is this big thing going out there. I don't know the word for it right now, but let me tell you the story. I used to work for a business magazine.
Okay.
And I was probably 17 at that point in time.
Yep.
And they used to give me these cartoons to draw. And then at one point they told me, okay, you have to buy this share and this share and this share. And then you have to sell on this date.
Right.
Which is like 4 months down the line.
Yeah.
And I'm going, okay, fine. It's, it's nothing. It's like maybe it was 10 rupees, maybe you say $1. And 4 months down the line, who cares? If it goes, it goes. It's like, so that's what I did. I got myself and my father to do that. And then 4 months down the line, sure enough, it was like insider trading.
Yeah. Okay.
It was amazing. Yeah. And so, to some extent, that was nice, but pretty weird to have a dependency on something that was kind of controlled. Now, whether it was in that situation alone, I don't know. My father used to follow shares and stocks, and he bought it his whole life, and he would look at the shares trading in the newspaper, open up the newspaper every day. I don't know how much he knew about stuff. He kind of got by with stuff. I don't think that it kind of supplemented or didn't supplement. I was too young to know.
Sure.
So I didn't go down that path. But when we moved to New Zealand, we bought the first house, and then I read a book by somebody called Anita Bell, and she said how to pay off your house, and there was in 5 years by someone who's done it in 3 or something like that.
Yeah.
And I think the interest rate that she was paying was 19%, and she had some 2 or 3 kids, and and she paid off a house in 3. And we thought, okay, cool, we can do this. And so then we set about. By some coincidence, Renuka was working in a company, and there was some kind of crazy loophole in the tax system, which enabled her to write off her taxes so that we could get some loss-making house or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know what we signed into, but 2 months later, she left her job, and so we had to pay for the house anyway. It wasn't like we got any benefit from it.
Right.
And so we had 2 houses in barely a year and a half of moving to New Zealand.
Okay.
And then after that, we wanted to separate the house from the office. And so we were looking for a 3rd house, and we got a pretty big piece of property down the road from where we were. So, yeah. So we have that's our portfolio, which now is, considering Auckland's prices, is pretty crazy, phenomenal.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Auckland's a bit like Sydney in terms of the value, so you would have done extremely well out of that.
Most of the houses on this street are between 2 and 3 million anyway. So just this house. So
and you would have bought it for a fraction of that. Back in the 2000s.
It was about 500 something.
Nice work. Yeah, again, that's the seed growing into an oak tree. Euphemism, right. Allowing time, and I've always been a big fan of A Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. That really helps people to embrace time as a friend rather than a foe. I don't know about you, Sean, but I constantly get frustrated by people who see time as the enemy. So they're in this gut-busting hurry to get somewhere, whereas if they allowed the flow and kept focused on the end game and the vision and then accepted that all success, but however you define that, comes with allowing time to do its work, people would probably be a lot less stressed and enjoy life a lot more. How do you feel about that?
Right, but see, the thing is that when you get people with the right perspective in life, it's because they've been lucky. They've been lucky as in they've been in the right place, they've had good mentors, they've had good teachers, they've had the framework to let them be like that. The reason for the people who struggle a lot and treat time as an enemy and stuff, they've just had bad teachers. And, somewhere along the way, they might get a good teacher and they might change their perspective, or they might not, in which case they have this constant battle that is their problem.
Do you think it's luck? I question the luck.
It's always luck.
Do you think so?
Luck.
You think so?
Yeah. Yes, I think it's luck. I mean, you understand luck when you don't actually understand luck in a first world country. You have to take a trip to a third world country.
Sure.
Luck. What is lucky in a first world country is being able to get the iPhone free. Okay, that's luck. Luck in a third world country could mean I'm 5th in line to go to the toilet. Right? And I have to stand in that line every single day just to go to the toilet, and there might be 25 people in front of me. You just stand up and you go and you turn on the tap. You just stand up, you go to the toilet whenever you feel like it.
Yeah.
It's you know how much time it takes to just get water. So when you look at it from a perspective of luck is like we have this capacity to have 3 computers in the office. We have a car. We have this. This is luck beyond the imagination of a lot of people on the planet.
Sure.
And just when we think of luck, we don't think of it from that perspective. But even if you were to take it from a first world perspective, I mean, luck is like is luck or whatever you call bad luck. Like my uncle, he died last year in December. He just happened to be standing under a coconut tree when a whole bunch of coconuts fell on his head.
Wow. Okay.
So you might say, well, that's destiny. Well,
no.
Sure, whatever. But you'll get off this call today and you'll take a left instead of a right, and something happens. And to me, I mean, if you want to go into geology and space, I can tell you why Earth, for instance, is a million times luckier than Mars, right? And you just happen to be on Earth instead of Mars.
Sure.
So
I guess the the paradox with all of that is that 100% agree that luck determines who and where you're born into, because that starting point is pretty foundational either way. And absolutely right, Sean. I guess I'd take for granted, and many Australians and New Zealanders do take for granted, that we're born in the lucky country. And I've been fortunate enough.
You started to include us now?
Yeah, absolutely, mate.
Well, I didn't hear any Australians saying that New Zealand was a lucky country. I mean, they'd call us God's country and stuff, but not lucky country.
Mate, I think it is a beautiful country. Sonia and I have been to New Zealand a number of times. Every time we go there, it's like, we want to live here. This is a beautiful place to live. So I completely understand why you love living in Auckland, and we may well end up there at some point in time, because I just love the pace and the lifestyle, or the feel of the pace and the lifestyle now. Admittedly, every time I'm there, I'm on holidays, so you see things differently when you're doing that. But yes, so I guess the conundrum for me, I'm keen to get your thoughts on this, is that yes, where you're born and who you're born to determines how easy or hard it's going to be. But surely there are choices that then come into that would affect your pathway from there. And if you look at your own life, I've just look at the decisions you've made and the choices you've made along the journey. That's made a massive difference to where you are today as a result of that. What's your thoughts on that, Sean?
I'm sorry. I'm just going to be on the other side of the fence. Let's look at it this way, okay? Let's say you started out. This is our business. So you started out on the internet, and then you had the chance to podcast. Started out in 2006, right? And no one was listening to podcasts. You were the first one to be there. Yep. So you started up your podcast, and then in 2009 you go, forget it, this is not working. And then 2009 exactly is when podcasts start to take off, right? Just when you've ditched it. Facebook comes along, you go, forget, what is this social media stuff? Twitter comes along, you say, what's it? YouTube comes along, what's it? Instagram? And you keep doing this all the time. What would you consider a person? Just walking away from luck, being thrown luck all the time, being in the right space at the right time all the time, and walking away from it, right? And that's what we've done. We've done it consistently for 18 years. We have done our own thing. And we've been lucky in the sense that you still have to put in the work, and you still have to seek out the right teachers. And to me, luck is about a teacher. Luck is about finding the right teacher. Luck is not about what you missed out or what you do. Luck is about, how can I go through all of this noise and find the person? Because that's really hard. It's very, very hard to find great teachers, whether it's investing or technology or whatever. That is the one that buys you time. That's the one that buys you expertise in a shorter amount of time. So to me, luck is defined. I mean, everyone has their own definition. But for me, I'd feel really lucky if I found a great teacher.
Right. And again, I think there's a choice element there where once you've found the right teacher, you're making that proactive choice to say, I'm going to optimize this. And yes, you may have walked away from all the social media noise and all the rest of it, but along that journey, you've also made decisions around what feels right for you at that particular time. And because you've got such a long-term view of your journey, then if you keep doing something well enough for long enough, good stuff happens. And that's very evident in your own journey so far.
Yeah, well, life is a paradox. It's just there's no, I was watching a series on Picasso by National Geographic. In one stage he says, people say, you're so lucky to be a painter and stuff. And he says, you don't understand how lonely it is. You have no idea how lonely it is. He also says, you don't understand how important that loneliness is to create great stuff.
Sure.
So life is a paradox, and when people don't understand that, then they go, okay, let me just have one half of this, which is, let me just have the hard work and not the luck, or let me have the luck and not the hard work. No, they're just, one is lagging behind at one point, and the other catches up. Then the other is they're never kind of working in tandem for some reason.
It's more about our awareness, I think, than anything, though, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I mean,
interesting.
it's the same thing as, you put the seed and then it takes its time to grow. The seed has to be lucky that there's someone to water it and put some soil and stuff. That's all the luck bit. It's like be on the ground that works for you. And then, okay, now we'll do all the hard work. And then we hope that it rains tomorrow because now we're 1 foot tall and we need more rain. And so it's just this combination of luck and hard work consistently. And they never come together, if you ask me. It's just whatever you do, the bad luck or the good luck or whatever it is. And even then, it's your perspective. I mean,
yes.
What is a bad idea to not get on YouTube from where we're sitting now? I mean, if you rewound me back to 2000 and said, okay, in 2020, you're going to have, enough income to last you 40 years. You could do this, you could do that. You could trade 3 months. You go, you're insane. And yet there are people in this very spot where we are sitting and going, I didn't make $1 million today. I didn't do this. I didn't get. So it's a matter of perspective on how you can rewind where you are and go, if I could go back 20 years or 10 years or 5 years and and wish for something, would I wish for what I am now? And if it's not, then probably there's some change needed, either in your real life or your headspace.
Well, it's as you well said, it's how we respond to situations, not the situation itself, that makes a difference, and it's what you take from that and where that then leads you to that ultimately decides. Because a lot of people will have what's called bad luck, and that kills them. They become a victim of their own circumstance and blame that for the rest of their life, or others will say, right, I'm going to learn from this and this is what I'm going to do differently. And that's... And
to me, that comes down to, the framework, the teaching. Maybe the teacher was a book. Maybe the teacher is maybe the teacher is a book, or a book that you're going to find. Or maybe the teacher is, I don't know, a 5-year-old kid. I once was really upset with some people. I was very angry for a month. I had headaches every time. I would talk to my wife every day. And my teacher was Frozen, believe it or not, the movie.
Okay.
We went to the movie, and the last song was Let It Go. And I walked out of there, and I didn't have a headache anymore.
There you go. Let it go.
Yes. So the teacher is there. Are you willing to be? Yeah. Are you willing to be the student?
Yes. What's that old saying? When the student's ready, the teacher arrives.
Yeah. So that's it. So
brilliant, mate. So pivoting slightly to go back to something you mentioned very early in the discussion, and revolves around your comment around that people aren't gifted. It's probably our limiting beliefs that puts people on a pedestal and says, "Well, I can't do that." Whereas what I'm hearing from you and what I've read from you is that if you decide to do something, you've just got to learn the skills and keep doing it. What's your...
Not exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, not precisely.
Okay.
So
expand on that for us.
So what I believe in is a teacher and a system and a group. And of course, if that's not apparent from this so long, but I've been going on. But the point is that what happened in 2008 was that I started up this little blog about talent and stuff. And I had lots of arguments and discussions on that blog. But essentially what came out from that was that people said, we can't draw cartoons. You have to be inborn. You have the inborn skill for that. So we started up a cartooning course. Even though it was a marketing company, we started up a cartooning course. And now we have, I don't know, maybe 200, 250 people who have done that course. And if you look at their work, you will think they're lying, because many of them will say, I've been drawing for just 6 months or 7 months. Mm-hmm. And you'll go, no. You surely had the skill before. And you can see the first day's work. I mean, even my wife has done the course. You can see her work on day one, and you can see her work today. And you think that this person has to be born with it. But fundamentally, what you need is a teacher, and that teacher has a system. Because what happens is when you're trying to learn something, your brain needs an enormous amount of energy.
Yeah.
And what the teacher does is reduce the amount of energy required so that you can do the same task with the same impact in a lot less time. Now you think, well, what kind of example could you give for that? Let's say you're trying to make Indian food, okay? And now Indian food can be very complex. You could have 20 ingredients, 40 ingredients, whatever.
Yeah.
And when you're looking at the ingredients, they go 1/3 of this and 1/2 of that and 1/4 of that, and I'm not going to be able to remember. But what if I could streamline the Indian food to, okay, you're only going to need 4 things. And out of the 4th thing, let's say the whole bunch of spices. But instead of remembering the spice names, you just have red, yellow, brown, green, whatever. And you don't even label them as garam masala or chili powder or whatever. You just put label there, just in case you're colorblind, red, green, whatever.
Yep.
And then what we've been able to do is teach like a 14-year-old Dutch twins over the internet how to cook Indian food with this simple system. So why does it work? It works because it's the same thing as ramen noodles. When you buy that packet, you don't need any energy. You open it, you put it in the bowl, you put the tastemaker, you have a meal. A good teacher is able to reduce. So what happens is, I have this formula. I'll be talking about it in Brisbane this year, but essentially it's you have to reduce the amount of energy required to do a task. If you have a task that's that requires minimal amount of energy, you do it, you get confidence.
Yeah.
When you get confidence, that builds up your skill. Yeah. Repeat, energy, confidence, skill, energy, and then that's how you become good at it. Yeah. And it sounds simplistic, and the reason it's not simplistic, it's elegant.
Yes.
Right? It's very elegant. And who does this is great teachers. So a great teacher can teach you, for instance, dancing is not necessarily in the feet, it's in the hands. Cooking is not in the recipe. Cooking is in the sequence. Maths is not in taking a piece of paper and multiplying 11 by 17. I can tell you the answer is 187. 11 by 27, the answer is, what did I say, 27? 297, right? So you go, are you brilliant at maths? No, I'm going to show you how to do it. So what happens is, if I show you a technique where you can multiply double-digit numbers in 1 second, now you don't have to sit there and go, first line, second line, add it up together. By the time you do that, I've done 17 answers.
Yes.
So now I'm far more confident than you.
Of course.
Therefore, I will build up a skill faster than you.
Yes.
And we have experienced this. I mean, when you use Microsoft Word, for instance, there's a whole bunch of coding behind it. Do you know any of the code? No. You don't know any of the code, but imagine they told you to use Microsoft Word with using code. None of us would do it.
No.
So what happens is you have to have whatever teaching system you have has to be so elegant that it requires very small energy bits that give you confidence, which build the skill, and then you just keep repeating that system over and over again. And this is what we do. In this conference, I'm going to show people just, whether it's 500 or 100 or whatever, how to draw a cartoon, having never drawn a cartoon before. And they go, you can see the skill difference in 10 minutes. Wow. And you go, what happened? Did you just get hit by a bolt of lightning? Right? How can you multiply? How can you cook? How can in 20 minutes or 30 minutes, how can a random bunch of 100 people or 200 people suddenly become skilled? What's the one point of difference? And it's the teacher.
Yes. And clearly you are, I've sort of listened to and read and looked at a whole bunch of stuff that you've been involved in, and everyone's trying to put you in a box. And so there's 1,000 different descriptors, which is what I love, because it means that you're a bit of an enigma in that regard. But if I want to boil it down to the essence, you're just a really good teacher. You are a really good teacher, and a teacher of social intercourse, of promotion and partnerships. At the end of the day, you're a communication specialist in that regard, because you're able to communicate an idea in ways that a person can understand, can grasp, and, as you say, break it down into bite-sized bits that as they chew each mouthful, they're getting more confident and feeling better about what they're doing. So it builds upon itself over time, which is a real science, actually.
Yeah, but it's done by software engineers every day. So when you have software, I mean, if you can't use it, then they failed. It doesn't matter how great it is. You know, if it crashes, they failed. So if you see your work as version based, which is, you know, I'm going to get feedback, I'm going to fix it. The only scary bit is that most people make it more complex. So Photoshop needs to be less complex, or at least be made less complex by a teacher. So, I mean, you can have everything is complex. Writing is complex. Storytelling is complex. I mean, when you say, okay, I'm going to write an article or I'm going to do a podcast or whatever, there are actually like 1,000 elements in it. It doesn't seem like it. It looks like just a podcast. But, you know, how you're going to do storytelling itself could go for, I mean, you could learn that for the next 25 years.
Yes.
And yeah. And that's just 1/5 of, say, our podcast, which is the 3-month vacation. That's just 1/5 or 1/6 or maybe even smaller there. And that's so everything is complex. But if you whittle it down to the smallest bit and keep working at it, there's a really good story, actually. There's a story of the British cycling team.
Yes.
And they last won a championship in 1908, which is now yeah. So they wouldn't, you could seriously call them untalented, right?
Wow.
Every single Brit was just hopeless. Then in 2012, they won Tour de France. 2013, Italy won it. 2014, they won it. 2015, they won it. 2016, they won it. They swept up 70% of all the medals at the Olympics.
Yep.
If you go to britishcycling.org.uk, every single one has a huge grin on their face.
You bet.
Right? They're completely dominating. What happened?
What happened?
What happened? Yes, teacher.
There you go.
That's it.
Yeah.
There is a coach there. He got knighted. I think Alex Ferguson. No, maybe not. Don't know the name right now.
Yep.
But there is a person there, and that coach steps in, and there you go, and that transforms everything. So you know, my belief is completely in having. I mean, the reason why you have bad teachers is because that teacher had a bad teacher. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah. No, that's a brilliant insight there in relation to the importance of putting yourself in a position where you can expose yourself to the right teacher. That's having the I guess the guts and the fortitude to search that out is part of the challenge that a lot of people don't get to. But sort of transitioning there a little bit, I keep hearing this expression in the startup world about prolific beats perfect, and it grates me, Sean, because I've always believed if you're going to do anything, do it well, because if you do it well, that it will persist in the world and it'll build on itself. What's your feelings around that?
Well, my feeling is very clear. It's every answer that you need to have is usually in nature or in our everyday life. And there is this tree called, see, I'm going down a storyline.
Good, I love it.
There is this tree called the monkey puzzle tree, okay?
Yeah.
And I forget the exact details, but essentially the monkey puzzle tree reproduces once every 40 years.
Wow.
And then there is a little plant, let's call it purple plant, okay, that sits at the foot of the monkey puzzle tree. And it reproduces like every 40 days or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And who has the advantage? Well, the thing is that by the time, and the maths is all wrong here, but essentially the little purple plant has reproduced and genetically modified itself 1,000 times and made little changes, some bad changes, some good changes, some left turn, some right turn, some mistakes, whatever, but 1,000 times, and it is now more capable of dealing with an environmental change or any change, and the monkey puzzle tree is still at trying to perfect its one change. And essentially, what is life all about? Life is about edit. it's like a photographer. You take 1,000 pictures and then you edit it down to 5. A writer does the same thing. Someone picking stocks and shares does the same thing. They have all this information and then they have to narrow it down to 5.
Yeah.
Your ability to get this volume of wrong, right the whole time is what enables you to pick right choices as you go forward.
Yep.
And so the little purple plant is doing exactly that. And I tend to go on the other side, again, on the opposite side of your fence, which is...
I like it. Good. This is good.
Yeah. Which is that I draw... So, for instance, I've been doing a watercolor every single day since 2010, and with no specific teacher in mind, an exception here, but it's just something I do as a diary every day. And if you look at you look at 2010, or you look at 2012, or even if you look at 2017, 2018 is far superior to it.
Okay.
So what's happening is that your brain itself is able to make improvements even with no teacher in sight. What happens with the teacher is, instead of taking 8 years to get here, I could have been there in 2 or 6 months. And that's so on one side, prolific is very critical. On the other side, having a teacher doesn't require you to be prolific at that same pathetic level. So you can reach there in 6 months, and then for the next 9.5 years, you can have multiple teachers that are sending you hurtling down to a point where no one is able to catch up.
Yep.
So the prolific works, but having the teacher speeds it up. If you don't have a teacher, you refuse to have a teacher, then being prolific is, I would say, almost critical.
As long as prolific.
Prolific, I wouldn't use the word prolific, really. I would just use consistent. I would say today, tomorrow, the day after.
Yes.
It's brushing your teeth, right? You can brush your teeth once every 6 months. Good luck to you. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's that daily discipline, the happy habits exercise coming into play again, which is just improving every time you step up to the plate.
What you're really doing is reducing mistakes. So we look at it as how to, but the brain looks at it as how not to. So every time you make the mistake, it goes, okay, I made that mistake once, twice. I have to not make that mistake now. So it doesn't look at you. When you stand up and you walk through out to what you're doing is how not to the whole time. You see it as how to. I can walk. No, what the brain is doing is saying how not to fall.
Yes.
So the consistency of your actions is reducing the mistakes that you've made in the past. It's finding new mistakes, but that's just down the road of expertise, really.
Yeah, and that relates back to what you talk about in your book, the brain auditor, about the brain focuses on problems first, and if we address all those, then you can move into the right solution. So a good analogy there. But a slight pivot again, and we live in an I world where it's all about me and it's all about now, and whereas if I look at the most successful people from a sustainable long-term perspective, it's generally a team effort. And if I look at my own experience, without my wife Sonia, there's just no way we'd be enjoying the lifestyle that we do now. And I'm guessing here, but I'm assuming Renuka is a very important part of what you do. Can you talk a little bit about that and how that works for you? Because like Sonia and I, it appears you both work in the business. How do you make that work, and how has your partnership assisted in getting to where you are today?
Yeah. First of all, I'm a strong believer in not having a plane with a single engine, because the engine fails. That's it. So I do believe in having a backup system, not a backup system, a parallel system. And Renuka sees the world ethically, philosophically, we kind of see it the same way. but then obviously partners see the same thing in two different ways. So for instance, we were just analyzing some kind of software the other day that we wanted to use, and it's very good software. And then we went to have a look at the people who program all the software, and we hated every single one of their faces. They all look like straight out of some prison cell. Now, that's a decision that you have to make, right? You have to make a decision. This software is going to help me with my business, but Renuka goes, no, we're not working with them. I don't care how good the software is. And so it's a perspective on things that you have your perspective. Often when we go for a walk, she said, say you go for a walk in Italy somewhere, and she goes, oh, I know the way back. And you go, how? And she goes, I know all these shops. And I haven't seen a single shop. I'm looking at people which are moving all the time. So,
yes.
So if you want to get lost, you come with me. So that's the kind of thing, right? She comes from a perspective. I come from a perspective of the moment I think of something, 5 seconds later, we have to start working on it.
Okay.
She comes from a perspective of like, okay, I'm going to put this off so I think about it or whatever. So you can look at it from, okay, one's an extrovert, one's an introvert, one's a male, one's female. You can start to put everything in boxes, but essentially you have to have two strong enough people, and then you have a very good situation, because they don't have to be at loggerheads with each other, but they just have to kind of believe or be able to defend their no or their yes. And I think that's what has helped us, because every time I would go, okay, we have to go and do this, and she would go, no. And then I have to prove that it's right, or she wins.
Sharpening the sword.
Yeah. I mean, there were times when I didn't want to do any workshop, which is very rare. And she'll go, no, we have to do the workshop. Okay. It was a really good decision. And there are times when I'll go, we have to do all these workshops. And he goes, no, we're not going to do anything. So like we just did the sales page workshop, and I put the date as, I'll give you all the notes in May. And she went and put July on the site.
The yin and the yang.
Yeah. So, I mean, I really, I don't know how people who run their business by themselves manage, but they have to be stressed out. I mean, we have come such a long way. And the one thing that I believed when we were just getting started was this leverage thing is really great. We will have less work in the future. And it's true. If we were earning the same income, and if we were trying to achieve the same thing, and we were doing the same routine stuff, we would have loads of time.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that. We're challenging ourselves, not so much in terms of income, but in terms of, I rewrite the entire course because I believe in software. So, a course will go version 1, version 2, version 3.2, whatever. So it challenges me because I have to move the entire set of assignments around. People say, you're crazy. This is already working. And I go, I don't care, because I don't care. I don't care in the sense that I'm willing to break something to make it work better.
Yes.
And you can't make it better by not breaking it. It's just to me, it's not possible. You have to break it at least 5% for it to become better.
Yes.
Because if you're running the same thing the same way, there's no change.
There's no learning for anyone in that, is there?
Yeah. So we come from different angles, and I like to write and do stuff. She likes Excel. I hate Excel with all my heart. Right. I mean, I would rather cook you a 12-course dinner for 3 weeks in a row than open up an Excel file.
Just tell me and I'll be there, Sean.
Yeah. So that's it. So
awesome. That really good to talk that through, because I just think this the whole selfie world where it's all about me is a bit of a fallacy, and everyone I look at who's successful in in their own life and the context of how they define success is often down to a really strong partnership. And I can certainly say from my own outlook that Sonia's been fundamental to where we are for all the reasons you've talked about being the opposite view, about being the force of reason at times when I have 1,000 ideas like yourself. I want to do them now or yesterday, and she says, "No, we'll park that. We'll do this then. We've got to do that first." It's a blessing in disguise as far as that goes, mate. I'm going to give you a bit of an ambush now. So it's a bit of a bushfire lightning round, as I refer to it. That sort of hits on some pretty key things. So what's the quote that you live your life by, whether it be your own or someone else's, and why?
Oh, offhand, I have nothing.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I have a dozen that I will readily spout, like, okay, break it 5% or something like that. But no, I would say the quote is, make sure you get your coffee.
I'm going to have one straight after this. I can't wait, actually, mate.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, so there you go. So that's my quote. Make sure you get your coffee.
What about the best book and the best podcast that you've consumed?
Well, this is an ongoing debate, because the book that I credited for my changeover was Good to Great, but that was only because I was at that position. I don't think there is a best book. There is a book, just like there isn't a best teacher or a best whatever. It's where you are, and the book pushes you the last 5% or maybe pushes you 90% or 60%, but nothing. Yeah. So the best book I've read is Calvin and Hobbes, because that makes me happy, reading Calvin and Hobbes, the comic strip. Tintin. Those books. I could call them best books because I could read them over and over again. So I know, weird answer, but that's
good.
The best podcast. I listen to a lot of podcasts. One of them is when they do a good job, I really like. Which one is it? It's called Radio Lab.
Oh, yes.
And they really do a great job. The Moth is another one that is reasonably consistent, funny. But I've listened to different podcasts for different reasons. But Radio Lab is probably one. If they consistently run good stories, that's the one I like. I pressed go by mistake.
Yeah, that's all good. Yeah, no, awesome, mate. Another quick change in pace. What's the best piece of investment advice that you've ever received, Sean?
That was when I got to New Zealand, and this real estate agent told me, if you can afford not to sell a house when buying a new house, do that.
Yes.
That's what caused us to buy another house and another house and another house. Having never been here with no credit and all that stuff, we just said, okay, how can we not sell this house and still buy the other house? And we stopped after 5 years. We just bought 3, which by today's standards is obnoxious. But I think that was the best advice I got for investment, at least.
Yeah, okay. And following on from that, in terms of your investment success, and I'm talking about investment here, not just in hard terms, but investing time, energy, and money. What's the best? What's a personal habit that contributes to your investment success in that regard?
It's how to do the same thing in less time. Eventually, my whole focus is time. And when you ask people what do they want more than anything else, they want time. And they always complain about time. And I say, well, you're doing something wrong. There is no such thing as not having enough time.
No.
There is, you're either inefficient or you're doing it wrongly, or there is a barrier to that. Everyone has enough time to do what they want. So there is a longest answer, but essentially, how can I do the same task with the least amount of energy is probably where I'm going, which is if you can do the same thing, like today I can write an article, I can do a podcast, I can I can do all the things I can do today. I couldn't do 10 years ago. Almost like 60% of what I do today, I just couldn't do 10 years ago. So I've doubled or trebled my workload, but I have more time than ever before, which is totally bizarre. Right? So there is something wrong with what other people are doing, and I hope to find out what's wrong so I can help them or fix it. Yeah. Or not do anything.
Mate, that's been absolutely brilliant. Really enjoyed the discussion we've had. I feel like I could go on for hours, but mindful that you're a busy man. If others want to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that, Sean?
With psychotactics.com. Psychotactics is our website, and go there. If you read through all the articles, there are lots of them. Get some food, some coffee, sit down, read it. And yeah, if you like it, join us. We're a happy band of people.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And what's exciting you at the moment, mate? What are you putting your time and energy into moving forward?
I'm writing, for 10 years I've been trying to write this book on talent, and the time is now. So at the end of the year, I want to finish this series on talent. I call it the talent equation. So that's the end of the year. Yeah.
Can you elaborate on that, or are you letting the genie out of the bottle?
No, it's essentially, there are people that believe that talent is inborn, and there are people that don't think about it, but they still struggle. The book is really three parts, or three parts or three books. I don't know, but the first part is about how to get talented in the shortest amount of time, and it talks about that equation, which is energy, confidence, and skill, and it shows you how to apply it. The second one is about consumption, which is how to teach. So the first one is how to learn. The second one is how to teach, and the third either section or book, I don't know right now, is about the road to elegance, which is mastery, and how to get to take the concepts that you have and make them far, far superior. So it's not simplistic, it's just very elegant. So the difference between, so you look at something like, say, maybe a block of stone, and that's information. And then you look at someone just carving anything, and that's a result. And then the statue of David by Michelangelo, that is elegance.
Yes.
And the road to elegance is what enables people to enjoy stuff, for teachers to teach, either the kids or others. So those are the three things, learn, teach, elegance.
Love it. Love the simplicity of it, mate. You are the Obi-Wan Kenobi of communication, Sean. There's absolutely no doubt. I just love the way you're able to break quite complex and challenging topics down into really clearly understandable and actually enjoyable stories that we can immediately relate to. So I'm really looking forward to your book on talent, and I'm sure all the listeners are going to be the same. You're thinking sort of towards the end of the year that's going to be available?
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to pre-sell it, because otherwise it's already taken 10 years of me chattering away saying I'm going to write this book.
The more you talk about it, the better the book gets, doesn't it?
It does. But what happened was that I'm in Singapore, and on the third day of the workshop, I presented the concept to the audience. And after that, Renuka came up to me and she said, "That's it. This is the first time that you've actually said something in a few, hardly any time, and you've demonstrated beyond any doubt." And that's elegance. To me, that was the elegant moment. So right until then, I could only get results. Before that, I could only give you information.
Right.
I could kind of bamboozle you into believing my point of view. Then at some point, I could actually get results by doing the course and getting people interested. But I couldn't stand in front of 5,000 people on a TED stage, for instance, and get every one of them to believe my concept in 20 minutes. That is elegance.
Yes.
We've nailed that. Now it's time.
Love it. Love it. Well, I'm pretty excited about that, mate, and a lot of other people are too. Really appreciate you being so generous with your time and sharing your philosophies and journey so far. Can't wait to catch up with yourself and Renika again. Sonia and I, as I said, really enjoyed your company, felt comfortable with you both straight away, and it's clear that you're comfortable in your own skin and doing some great things to help others on their path. So thanks for spending some time and getting invested, and look forward to catching up with you soon, mate.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
All right. That was awesome, mate. I really appreciate that, mate. I generally mean what I say. Sonia and I are precious about who we reach out to. Time is our...
Hello.
You still there, mate?
Yeah.
Sorry, it dropped out there somewhere. Yeah, look, mate,
Yeah.
that's been really awesome, mate. I was talking to myself there a little bit, but Sonia and I only really reach out to people that we've got a lot of time and respect for, and yourself and Renika, just straight off the bat when we met you in Brisbane, it was just a sense of comfort there, and everything I've done since then, reading what you've written and what others say about you, you've got immense respect for the work that you're doing, mate. So we'd love to stay in touch if possible, and keen to continue following the work you're doing. I'm really looking forward to that book on talent because...
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It's about time.
Yeah, it's going to be great, mate. So, and I'm genuine when I say if you're over our way, we've got a beautiful property just out of Adelaide. It's very similar country to New Zealand, actually, and we're right in the heart of the Southern Vales wine region. They make awesome coffee in Adelaide, mate. It's it
That's
doesn't
cool.
get much
Yeah.
better than our part of the world. So knowing what you're like, I have no doubt at some stage you're going to end up in our little town. And likewise, if and when, and it's more a matter of when than if, we're in Auckland again. In fact, I think we're going to be in Auckland in November-ish this year, heading over for a wedding up on the North Island. If you're free and available, would love to.
If it's late, yeah, because we're away in Mexico till the 20th or something.
Yeah, okay. I'm pretty sure it is late. I think it's sort of late November, early December. If you've got time and if you've got an interest.
Yeah, we're good. If it's past, I think the 20th, 22nd is when we leave from Houston. So
Okay.
So it's going to be 23rd, so 23rd, somewhere thereabouts. 23rd is when we leave from Houston, so that'll be 24th here. I think we lose a day or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, 24th is when we're back. If you're there after that, we're good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure we are. I'll check the diary, but we'd love to catch up with you both again, mate. So
Not a problem. Just send me an email.
Yeah, definitely will. And likewise, if ever over this way, you don't have to ask. We've got a full floor of the house that's yours with its own kitchen, own bathroom. So if you just want somewhere for you and Renika to spend some you time, it's there.
Yep. That's cool.
Don't need to think about it, mate. And
Okay.
Again, mate, I really appreciate you honouring me with having a chat. It's been great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, buddy.
All right. We'll see you in November.
Stay in touch.
October. Yeah.
Okay, say hi to Renika
cool.
for us, mate.
I will.
Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Sean. Bye,
Yeah,
mate.
bye-bye.
See you. Bye. How good was that? I hope you enjoyed it. To get a summary of all the investment gold and to get a copy of the show notes, email me on hello@khgroup.com.au. That's HELLO@khgroup.com.au. Or check us out at www.khgroup.com.au/get invested. And join me next week for another episode of the Get Invested podcast. Thanks for listening, and as always, dream as if you'll live forever and live as if you'll die tomorrow.